Hello friends, thank you for watching this video. I am Mohamad and today we're going to be exploring how we can actually deploy our web application and web API into Azure. We're going to be utilizing Azure Container Service, Azure Container Registry, Azure DevOps, as well as GitHub in order for us to be actually deploying the web API into Azure. There's a lot of different ways where you can actually do that, but today we're going to be actually exploring the CI/CD pipelines. We're going to be creating a Docker file, so on and so forth. If you like this video, please like, share and subscribe. It will really help the channel. As well, if you'd like to support me, please consider supporting me on Patreon or buy me a coffee. Now, grab your cup of coffee and let's get started. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to create our web API, and it's going to be a very minimal web API where it's going to be like very limited functionality. We're going to just be utilizing the default weather endpoints that they're going to be providing us, but we're going to be actually containerizing it and actually creating a Docker image out of that API. So let's see how we can do that. So first of all, I want to check my latest version of my .NET SDK, so .NET -- version, just to make sure that I have installed it correctly. And as you can see here, I'm running on the latest one, but you can basically utilize any version of .NET Core as long as it's after version 2.1. And then what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be utilizing .NET new web API -name. I'm just going to call it sample API, weather API. As simple as that. And now that it has run successfully, all I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to cd into it. And then I'm going to open it in Visual Studio Code. Okay, so now that my application is actually open in Visual Studio Code, all I'm going to be doing is just going to open a terminal window. And inside my terminal window, all I'm going to do is just .NET build, just to make sure that everything is running as it should be. Okay, perfect. Now the next step for me is I'm going to be basically creating a Docker file. And within this Docker file, I'm going to be basically containerizing my application. So let's see how we can do that. So on the left hand side, all I'm going to be clicking on is this new icon, and I'm just going to put Docker file, and that's it. Once we do that, you should be able to see that we have a whale icon here, and we need to make sure that Docker is running. So let me go back to my web browser, and all I'm going to be typing here is Docker download. And all you need to do is just go to this website, docker.com, and make sure you download Docker, and make sure you select whatever version is actually based on your computer. So if you're running on an Intel chip, download the Intel version. If you're running on Apple chip, download the Apple chip version, so on and so forth. Because if you try to download like an Apple chip on Intel, it will not work. So once you make sure that you download the right version, just install it, and once it's installed, you're going to be able to see you have a whale icon, and you're going to be seeing that you have once you open your dashboard, I'm just going to bring it here, and you're going to be able to see that you have this green icon here, or this green color. It says engine running, which means Docker has been installed successfully and it's running as it should be. So let me close Docker, and once we have done all of that, let's go back to our Visual Studio Code. And the first thing that I need to do in order for me to containerize my application is I need to specify the base image that I need to utilize. So I'm going to put the from mcr.microsoft.com/.net/7.0 SDK 7.0, and then here I'm going to say it's as build-environment. And then once I have specified that, I'm going to specify the work directory, and it's going to be always /app. Then I'm going to be exposing some of the ports. Expose, and it's going to be port 80 and expose port 443. So the port 80 is going to be for normal HTTP calls, and port 443 is going to be utilizing for SSL. So once I do that, the next step is I need to copy my CS proj. So for that, I'm going to put copy *.csproj, and basically here it's going to map anything that has a .csproj file, and in my case right now it's going to be the sample weather API, and I'm going to say just copy it to the root folder. And then once I do that, all I need to do is just run .NET restore.
And this means basically that my application is gonna be restoring my CS proj and basically making sure that all of my packages are installed successfully. Once I do all of that, the next step for me is I need to copy everything. Basically, I'll copy everything from my root directory inside my container, and I run .NET publish -c release -out, which means here I'm publishing my application into release mode, and I'm publishing it into an output file or output folder called out. I can call it whatever I want. For simplicity's sake, I'm calling it out. So once we have done all of that, the next step is I'm gonna just reutilize this. I'm basically gonna create another build image, and let me remove this. And here all I'm gonna be doing is specify a work directory inside this. I'm gonna call it /app, and then from here I'm gonna just put copy -- from, and it's gonna ask me from where do I want to copy it from the build environment image that I have. And then it's gonna ask me what do I want to copy, and here it's gonna be basically telling it that I want to copy everything from folder app -out into my empty root directory. So basically what I did here is I created first a development container where basically I restored my packages, I built my image, and I published it. And then I created another container, or basically another image, and then from there what I did is basically I copied only the published image from the first container into it, so I don't really need all of the extra file. And the reason to do that is when I publish it, or basically inside a container and put it inside another, all of the dependencies are gonna be based on the same configuration for these two containers. On the other hand, if I publish it on my computer and copy it, in case there is any dependency which is heavily based on my computer, it's not available within the container, the build is gonna fail, because basically it's not gonna be available there. So it's always better to do everything inside the one development container, or the one development image, and then basically copy paste it into the new image that you want to actually utilize. So once we have done that, the last thing that I want to do is specify an entry point, and here it's gonna allow me to basically run my application. And for this I'm gonna just put .NET. Let me remove these extra spaces. And here we need to know what the DLL name. So if I come here to bin, I'm able to see that my DLL name is going to be sample weather API.dll. So let's put that here. Okay, perfect. And now let's just run my application. First of all, I'm going to do .NET build. We can see it built successfully. Then I'm going to put docker build-t. I'm gonna tag this image by call it weather API. I'm gonna put the dot in order for it to actually find where the Docker file is, and I'm gonna be running it now. And we can see it's doing some work downloading my .NET SDK image in order for it to actually build on top of that.
A few moments later.
Okay, once it's done all of that, we can see it's actually going through my application, creating the directories, copying it. Now it's publishing my code, and now we can see that I have a new weather API image. So if I go back to my, actually if we come here, you can see that I have already an image available for me, which is called weather API. And you can see here that this is the latest version that I have.
So hello, this is Mohamad. While editing the video, it's still very early morning, and I missed something here to mention, realizing the extension that I utilize within Visual Studio Code in order to see the Docker images that I have. If you go to the extension within Visual Studio Code and choose Docker, you'll be able to have a Docker extension where you'll be able to see all of the local images that you currently have, as well as all of the containers which are running. Something I forgot to mention, I just thought that it might be of interest to someone. Okay, back to the video now.
Okay, great. So in order for me to publish this image that I have just created into my Azure containers and to my Azure Container Registry, and from there into a container app, I have two options. either what I can do is directly push it from my local machine up to Azure Container Registry, and from there create a new container service utilizing the container registry, or I can rely on a DevOps platform like Azure DevOps in order for it to actually create a pipeline where it actually builds this image for me. So what I'm going to be doing right now is I'm going to be relying on the Azure DevOps pipeline in order for me to build it. Just a way to give you a way where you can actually utilize the pipelines in order for you to create your containers. You can do whatever you want. This is just like a recommendation to utilize the Azure DevOps pipeline. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be creating the Azure Container Registry directly through the web portal. Although if you're interested to learn how we can actually utilize Terraform in order for us to create those services on Azure, also please comment in the comments down below and we'll be able to create a video around that. So for now, all I'm going to be doing is just opening my Azure portal, creating a container registry, creating a container service, and then I'm gonna be going to my DevOps, pushing my code into a GitHub repository, connecting to my DevOps, and from there, once I connect it to my DevOps, I'm gonna be creating the pipeline, and we can see my my container from there. So first of all, this is my GitHub account. If you're not following me there, please make sure that you follow me. All I'm gonna be doing here is I'm gonna create a new repository. I'm gonna select myself as an owner, and I'm gonna call this repository weather API. Let's make it private. I'm gonna keep everything the same. Okay, great. I'm just gonna copy this. Go to my terminal. Let me go to open a new tab. Let me zoom in. Actually, let's utilize this one here. All I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to make this a bit smaller so it will look good on the screen. Okay, so all I'm going to put here is go back to my desktop. And inside my desktop, I'm just going to create a new folder. cd, I'm just going to call it git. No, let's call it publish. Actually, create a folder, publish, and let's go to it. And then I'm gonna just clone my application. Perfect. So now that I have cloned my application, all I'm gonna be doing is just copy everything from one directory to another. So basically, I'm gonna be copying it from here to here. So I'm just gonna put it here. And we can see I have copied it successfully. Let's copy this. Okay. Excuse me. So now that I have copied it, all I'm going to be doing is just put ls. I can see that my weather API folder is there. And if I go there, I type is, we can see that it's the latest one. And what I'm going to be doing here is let's open it in Visual Studio Code. And you can see here that I'm gonna see my entire application. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to add a .gitignore so we don't push any stuff that we don't need. Perfect, now it's saved. Now you can see that my bin and my object are basically fade out. So let me go back to my terminal. Again, all I'm going to be doing is I'm going to put git add. I'm adding everything. Then I'm going to put git commit -m. I'm going to put initial commit. And all I'm going to do after that is git push. Okay, great. Now that has been pushed, if I go back to my application, let me go back. And here you can see that this is my weather API. It's been uploaded to my repo, and you can see here it's basically contained the initial commit. Perfect. So now that I have created my repository, the next step is I need to create my container service. And in order for me to do that, I'm gonna go back to the Azure portal, and Just for privacy's sake, I'm just going to a different page and we can do it from there. Okay, let me just scroll this down right now. So here what I'm gonna be doing is, I'm just gonna be creating a resource group. I'm gonna call it demo weather, so I can delete it either later on. I'm gonna choose the region that I'm currently in, and for the simplicity's sake, I'm just gonna be utilizing, where is Europe? UK South. Okay, UK South, I just saw it. And then I'm gonna put next and create and review. I'm gonna create it. So all I'm gonna doing is I'm gonna click on the create, and the first thing I want to create a container registry. See how this is looking. Okay, let's make it a bit bigger so it will look better. And I'm gonna say container registry, and this is the one that I want. I'm gonna create a new container registry, and everything is under demo weather. I'm just gonna call it weather-service-demo. Let's remove this. Okay, perfect. Then I'm gonna go to the same location and UK South. I don't need any availability zone right now, and I just need the basic functionality. So let's create this. Perfect. Now it's creating it. Okay, great. Go to resources, and basically now I have my container registry created. And the last thing that I want to do here is I want to go back to my resource group. I'm going to create a new container service, container instance. And this is going to be it. I'm going to create instance. I'm going to specify this one. I'm going to call it weather-API-demo. And I'm going to put the same configuration as I put in the other one, which is going to be UK South. No availability zone. I'm going to be relying on a container registry. Okay, so before I do that, let me just go to my Azure DevOps and start building that image directly from my GitHub repo. So this is my Azure DevOps. Let me check how this is looking. Okay, let me close this. Don't need it. So this is basically my Azure DevOps pipeline. I have already one pipeline for one of my other applications. So all I'm going to be doing is inside of this, I'm going to click on new pipeline, and it's going to ask me where is my source code available. And for this, I'm just going to be choosing GitHub. And from here, it's going to require me to authenticate, and I'm going to authenticate with it. And here I'm going to be choosing, okay, let me just finish the authentication process. And here it's going to ask me which one. I just chose my weather API. I need to add my authentication code. And now here it's going to ask me if I want to actually approve this, and I'm going to be like yes. Approve and install. Same account that I have. And now basically it's going to ask me what do you want to do, and all I'm going to say is for this directory I wanted to basically create a Docker image and basically push it to an Azure Container Registry. It's going to tell me choose your subscription, continue. What is the container registry that you want? I just want to put this weather demo service, and this is going to be the image name. I'm just going to call it weather API, and this is where the location of my Docker file. So it's automatically it went to my GitHub repo. It checked where a Docker file is, and it actually pulled it. All of that was done automatically for us. I did not have to do any of that. And then all I'm going to say is validate and configure. And now here we can see that my code has been generated as an Azure pipeline. All I'm going to be saying is save. First of all, I want to save it. So I'm just going to call this pipeline. I'm going to commit it to the main branch directly. So now it's being saved. And now if I go back to my GitHub repo and I refresh, we should be able to see that this exists there right now. And here you can see that I have my Azure pipeline just created. And this is the commit message, and this is committed just right now. And all I'm going to be doing right now is just, first of all, rename this. So I'm going to rename this. Oh, actually, let's keep it the same. I'm going to put just run pipeline. It's going to ask me if there's anything that I want to change. And for this case, I'm going to keep it all as is. I'm going to click on run. And we can see it actually started to build. What it's doing here is actually taking my code at a Docker file from my repository, and it's actually all building it. And we can see here the build step as it goes. So we can see it started to build. It basically first started to check out my source code, and then it's actually taking now my Docker file that I already have created, and it's basically trying to build it for me. We can see here it's actually doing all of the build process that I have. Perfect. Now it's actually pushing this build image after it has finished it into my container registry. And while this is finishing, let us showcase one more thing. So if we go back, actually it finished already. Okay, so now it's just doing some final job. And if I go back to my container registry, and while this is running, I'm just going to open this in a different portal, a different tab, to my container registry. And now if I click here on repositories, we should be able to see that weather API is there. And if I click on it, we can see it has just been created at basically 5:44 a.m. at this amount of time exactly. And you can see it gave it the tag 7. If I click on it, we can see this. This is my container information. So now if I go back here, and it's asking me to choose a container registry, I'm just going to utilize the weather one. Okay, that's fine. So all I need to do here is go back to my repository, and basically I need to enable it here. That's fine, I'm gonna delete it either way, even if you've seen the password. So now it's enabled, and now all I need to do is just click here and click back. Let's refresh. Did you have to click save somewhere? Nope. Let's refresh this one. Let's choose the demo weather one, demo API. Oh, okay, that's working. Container registry, let's choose that registry. Perfect. Now you can see that automatically got my image loaded. And now if I want to change, just make it the smallest one. And I'm gonna go review and create. And now I'm just gonna click create. Okay, now that has finished, I'm gonna go to resource. And now I can see here that if I go to containers, and we can see that it's running, and I can see the log, it's actually running as it should be. So now it has been created successfully. If I need to access it, all I need to go is go through this IP and execute my request. And basically, this is a very quick overview of how you can actually deploy a .NET 7 API into Azure Container Service, utilizing the Azure Container Registry, and how you can utilize actually DevOps in order for you to do that. I hope this video was helpful. This is just a very quick overview. If you'd like me to jump more into details of every single step, please let me know in the comments down below, and I'll make sure I'll cover it. As well, please like, share, and subscribe if you like this video. It will really help the channel. Have a great day.